Looking for these better days.
It is Friday, November 7th. I'm Scott Seidenberg. Here's what you need to know to make today a better day. It is Football Friday, part 2 here on the podcast, and we talk college football here on Football Friday, part 2. And joining me is a very special guest. You know him as the man they call Duck. Joshua Nunn joins me here on this episode of Better Day, presented by FanDuel. Josh, it is week 11 of the college football season. The first college football playoff rankings have been unveiled. I always like to tell people, don't worry about the first iteration of the college football playoff rankings because it's going to play itself out. We know that, but it's still fun to talk about some storylines that come out once you see the way the committee is leaning on some of these teams. Like when you see the fact that there is no group of 5 team that is ranked in the top 25, but still, plenty to play for here. And I think it's going to be fascinating to find out who is going to be that group of 5 champion that represents the group of 5 in the college football playoff. We do have a big one tonight here on a Friday night. Memphis hosting Tulane. Memphis a 3.5-point favorite. That line has completely shot down here with Memphis hosting Tulane because of uncertainty with the quarterback in Brendan Lewis. Really interesting because he practiced earlier in the week. Ryan Silverfield earlier in the week talked about how he looked good in practice. If he can go, he's going to go. But we see a line going against them so much in this spot, it kind of feels like information's out there. Somebody knows that he's not going to play.
I wonder. And I wonder if it's gamesmanship because the coaching reports were as such to where they said he was a full go in practice and everything was fine. Yeah. So I don't know if something's changed this week in practice or if this is just, the quote from Ryan Silverfield that people are maybe hanging their hat on was a reporter asked him pretty bluntly if Lewis was going to get the call. And he said, well, I don't know. We're evaluating. We're going to see how healthy he is. We're going to play the guy that gives us the best chance to win. And that, I think, was really what caused the movement. I think it's a head fake. I think it's gamesmanship. I think that there's absolutely no question. I could be wrong. I've been wrong about a lot, but, I just think... I think he's going to play, and I think he's going to play well. And I just look at this spot here for Memphis. And I also look at Tulane. And full transparency, I put a play in on Memphis minus 3.5. I'm fine with that. I liked it at 6. I laid it with Memphis. I think they're going to win the game on the field. I think they'll cover. Tulane was playing with fire all year, and they got flat out embarrassed last week in the Alamo Dome against UTSA. They really had it coming to them. And oh, by the way, UTSA embarrassed these guys. Look what UTSA has done 2 of their last 3. Blown out by 6 touchdowns last night, blown out by 6 touchdowns against North Texas. UTSA is not good, and they just took it to Tulane. Tulane was so fortunate to defeat ECU and Army. They were down in the second half of both of those games, took a little variant luck. They were lucky to defeat South Alabama earlier in the season. Tulane's not a good football team. I'm just going to tell how it is. They're not going to line up and run the football on this Memphis front. And so now you're going to have to ask Retzlaff to make these throws on the road against this Memphis secondary. Retzlaff has 5 big-time throws, 12 turnover-worthy plays, and he kind of runs around back there. It's fun to watch sometimes, but I don't think he's that good of a passer. I think Memphis is significantly better on defense and special teams. I think that this game will be won or lost by how Memphis's defensive front is able to control the line of scrimmage against Tulane in the second half. I think they'll rise to the challenge. I think Memphis gets the turnover. I think Memphis is able to extend the lead in the second half. I'm not going to say I don't care if Lewis plays or not, because I do, but I think he's playing. I mean, if there's any game this season where you get your guy ready to go, it's this one for the conference, like to get pole position in the league.
Love it. And as we do each and every Football Friday here up on Better Day, let's take a look at the top 25 schedule here in college football. And I want to start with a game here on Friday night, and that is number 19 USC hosting Northwestern up on FanDuel right now. USC a 13.5-point favorite with a total of 51.5. You and I think, are both fans of what Jade Maiava has done here in this USC offense. Is this too many to like here against a feisty Northwestern team? Although we do know that Big Ten travel can be the ultimate factor here in these games.
Yeah, and I think that there's just been too many of the excuses that have come out of USC camp. We heard Lincoln Riley talk about it even after the win against Nebraska. He was immediately complaining about the schedule, saying they've got to double back for a Friday night game. Just a lot of stuff that I don't really want to hear. I think USC, they should probably control this game in the second half, you'd think, but Northwestern has also just shown a propensity to be able to really play up and punch above their weight class. They have a great receiver in Griffin Wilde, who came in from South Dakota State. Preston Stone's done okay at the quarterback position. I think they wish that they would have had a little bit more from him, but I don't know. I kind of think that Northwestern can go in there and play pretty good football. How many chances do they get to play in this type of environment in the Coliseum? I don't remember the last time they'd been out there. And USC, really, really hard to say. Are they really focused here on pounding Northwestern, or do they have bigger fish to fry, so to say? I think the game that they'd be a little bit more focused on would be their next game when Iowa comes to town. Iowa's been resurgent offensively. Especially after how this might go against Oregon, they could be real dangerous and have a special season out there in Iowa City. So I don't know. I'd be interested to see how focused USC is for this one. I would not and the line's come down too. This opened 16 and a half and has come down. I played Northwestern at 15.
All right. Yeah. No feel for the 13 and a half, though. I wouldn't lay it with USC seeing the line go against them. Let's move ahead to tomorrow's action. Number 2, Indiana is at Penn State. Indiana, 14.5-point favorite. I've made the jokes before. I'm going to continue to make them. Kurt Signetti is the new James Franklin. The dude knows the number. He runs up the score. Is he going to run it up here against Penn State, though? Penn State, I thought that they were going to cover against Ohio State, and in the first half, they had a tremendous game plan, and then it all fell apart there in the second half. At home here, kind of maybe the last game to get up for Penn State. Now, I'm not saying they're going to win this game, but is this the one where we get the last-ditch best effort here from the Nittany Lions?
I mean, they've had so many max effort games in a row. They had the max effort spot against Northwestern where you didn't think it was going to be max effort, and that's what it turned into. And then back-to-back roadies against Iowa and Ohio State. I kind of felt like they gave max effort in both those games and lost both. I don't know. They might rally the troops and win the last 3 and get to a bowl game for the interim. That could be a situation where I could see that. I kind of feel like they kind of emptied the bullets in the clip last week. I don't think Indiana even has to necessarily be overt about running it up to cover this number. I think that probably a fair line would have been 20, given the talent, given the way Indiana's playing, given how their defense has shut down nearly everything that they've seen. Now, Elijah Surratt, the receiver, is questionable. He would be a loss. He would be somebody that would make it a little bit tough for Indiana's offense to maybe look as well-oiled as they have all season, but I still think the line is light. I think, 17 and a half, 18 and a half, maybe Penn State could be worth a stab, but until it gets to that point, I think Indiana's the side.
It's funny. We always look at Penn State and we talk about, their defense. Their defense is still legit. Indiana's team total is at 32 and a half. It wouldn't surprise me if they put up over 40 in this game. But
yeah,
you mentioned
and I don't
Surratt.
And I don't know necessarily that Penn State is equipped offensively to keep up in this game, to keep up with them, and to score enough points to keep it within this number.
Yep. Let's move on to the big matchup here in the top 10. Number 7, BYU at number 8, Texas Tech. Texas Tech up on FanDuel now a 10.5-point favorite, total of 52.5. This is one of my best bets from earlier in the week, playing the BYU team total to go under 20.5, and that number is still available up on FanDuel. I would go under BYU's team total of 20.5. The only team that scored over 20 points against Texas Tech was when they lost to Arizona State, and that took a touchdown with 34 seconds remaining to push Arizona State's total over 20 points, and they scored 26 for the game. I think Texas Tech is in a spot to roll here. I've bet against BYU many times this season, and they have come back to to significantly bite me. So I am a little bit bitter there of every time I've gone against the Cougars. But Texas Tech, number 4 in defensive points per drive allowed. They're number 4 in defensive havoc, so they create a ton of negative plays. Number 4 in defensive success rate. Number 1 in adjusted EPA per play defense. And at home this season, only allowing 10.4 points per game. It's Texas Tech for me, and it's the BYU team total going under.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that's going to affect BYU is the wind. We should see sustained 17-mile-an-hour wind with up to 25-mile-an-hour gusts. That Lubbock wind is really reliable, so I think we'll get that. And if BYU thinks that they're going to line up and run double tight end and run the ball against Texas Tech, I think that they're sadly mistaken. Their run game has been very efficient this year, but BYU has not been overly explosive. Well, I don't know if either one of those things is going to manifest itself against Texas Tech. I mean, darn near leading the country in rushing defense, 2.4 yards per carry on the ground this season. Teams are running for 70 yards per game against them. And I think the secondary is also very, very strong for Texas Tech. PFF grades them as one of the top 3 in the entire Big 12. And so now you're going to task Bachmeier with having to make plays with his arm. You know, he's been fun to watch a little bit this season. He runs around back there a little bit and does a few things, but this pass rush is elite for Texas Tech. They're absolutely coming after these guys. 28 sacks already for Texas Tech this season, 68 tackles for loss. And if you're not going to have a lot of time, I don't know that the BYU receivers are talented enough against this secondary to create separation on the short throws. Could be real trouble. I actually, more and more I looked into this one, that BYU team total under looks like a fantastic side.
Yeah, that might be my favorite bet of the week here. Let's move on. Number 5, Georgia is at Mississippi State. Georgia laying 9.5 here. Stark Vegas. We know it's a great environment. We know Mississippi State has pulled the upsets so far. We've seen them rush the field. Do we think Georgia's at risk of having that happen to them here? Are the fans getting ready to storm the field here after an upset win, or is this just a game where we like Mississippi State to keep it close?
I like Mississippi State to keep it close. If you look at their losses this season, they lost by 2 on the road against Florida. They lost to Texas in a game that they had firm control of in the second half, up 17 late in the third quarter, couldn't hold on, went to overtime, lost against Tennessee in a similar fashion, had the game won, couldn't hang on, went to overtime. This is just not a team that routinely gets blown out, and now they're at home in the noon spot with Georgia and the opponent that they have on deck with Texas coming to town. I don't know. You look at Georgia's game flow situations this season, and I know that they've won a lot of these games, and if you just turn your TV on and you see the 8-1 or the 7-1 next to Georgia's record and you see the ranking there, it's like, oh, the Dogs, they're going to kill these guys. Yeah, Georgia could be 4-4. I mean, you look at the miracle it took for them to defeat Tennessee on the road. It was just very, very up in the air for a long stretch in the second half. Had 17-0 in the fourth quarter against Ole Miss in a game they were down by 2 scores entering the fourth. They were very fortuitous against Auburn to have some calls go their way. Could have lost that one. Could have lost last week against Florida. Florida came to play, really had a good game plan to shut down that offense. You know, everyone's talking about what Georgia's quarterback did at the very, very end where he ran the ball down to the 1-inch line and then took a knee. Well, that's not really what the story was. The story was Florida had so many chances to extend margin in the third quarter, and they didn't do it. And so I don't know that Georgia's as good as what they've been made out to be. I know their defensive line does not strike fear in everyone like those vaunted Dogs defensive lines that we're used to seeing. So, no, this is absolutely no question a spot play for me on Mississippi State.
Yeah, 9.5 just feels like a lot of points in this matchup. Let's move on to 2 really fun games here in the midday window, and they're both top 25 games coming up here. Number 3, Texas A&M at number 22, Missouri, up on FanDuel right now. Number 3, Texas A&M, a 6.5-point road favorite. That 6.5 is juiced. So I don't know if it gets to 7. I don't think it gets to 7. I think a lot of people are on Missouri here as an opportunity to pull an upset over the undefeated Aggies.
Yeah, and I just don't know. The freshman quarterback that you're going to have line up against A&M, I think that the game plan for Missouri has to be to feed Ahmad Hardy the ball, and he's going to have to go for 200 yards and 3 scores for them to keep this one close. I'm just not ready to jump in on the freshman quarterback Zollers.
Yep.
It might look a little bit better out of the bye week with a little bit of time in the seat there to get some practice with the ones and to kind of get the timing down, but I don't know that he's ready to do it here. Now, I will say this: A&M's defense is 116th in finishing drives. They are 121st in defensive explosiveness surrendered, so they can give it up a little bit there. But we know Missouri also, the other problem is their special teams has been poor of late, and they don't have a good, reliable field goal operation, so they're going for it a lot on fourth down. Well, that could be real high variance. If they don't get those fourth down conversions, they could set the Aggies up with short fields. So something I'd be concerned about if I was wagering on that one is how are the execution spots going to go on third and fourth down, and can they run the football with Hardy?
Do you think that this line is too much of an overreaction to the quarterback change? Like if Bo Prabula was healthy, like what do we think? Like is Missouri like +3 at home? Is this under a field goal in this matchup? Like it just feels like if you look at Missouri's spreads in other games where they were catching 3 or 3.5, like on the road against some of these teams, it feels like maybe the line's just getting a little too out of hand with the quarterback switch.
Well, that comes down to if you are convicted enough to believe that Missouri is a top 10 or top 20 team. Now,
Hmm.
the strength of schedule is massively down for Missouri because of who they played: Central Arkansas, Kansas, Louisiana, UMass. You know, they beat South Carolina at home. They had a close battle against Alabama, where Alabama had to go on the road after a certain spot that they were in with their schedule. They took Auburn to the wire and were fortunate to win that game in double OT, and lost to Vandy when they couldn't get a lot going against that Vandy defense. So yeah, I don't know if you believe that Missouri is talented enough to line up defensively and cause some problems for A&M, then yeah, the line's probably a hair too high. If you think Missouri is probably one that's lived on easy scheduling and a couple fortuitous scheduling spots and a couple games that they pulled out that maybe they shouldn't have, yeah, maybe A&M should win this one by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. All right. It's going to be a fun one there to watch. Also, what will be a fun one to watch is at Kinnick Stadium, where number 9 Oregon takes on number 20 Iowa. Currently, Oregon a 6.5 point favorite, and this game is all about the weather, Josh. The weather report is we're going to get rain during this game. Looks like 93%, 98%, 97%. The wind, though, is dying down. Like we thought we were going to get some heavy gusts of wind in this game. It doesn't look like that. I'm looking at about 7 to 10 at the most I'm seeing during the course of this game. Now that could change for sure. Also later in the night, it says rain could change to snow there in Iowa City. So we know it's going to be cold, right? We know it is going to be cold. We did see Oregon struggle in the rain a couple of weeks ago against Wisconsin. Do they do so here in a very tough place to play against a good defense in Iowa, number 4 in defense in yards per play, but Oregon themselves has one of the best defenses in the country. I think something that is an underrated aspect of this game is that if Iowa can pull the upset and win this game, they are firmly in the discussion to make the college football playoff. The remaining schedule, they got USC, Michigan State, and Nebraska. If Iowa upsets Oregon here and then wins their next 3 games, they are 100% in the college football playoff. So I think the opportunity is right there in front of them. This is a spot where I love Iowa plus the points, but I actually want to sprinkle Iowa on the money line as well.
Yeah, and I have heard a lot of people talk about Iowa this week. I have seen zero people say, yeah, Oregon's the right side. So I don't know what to make of this one. Iowa's offense has been very resurgent, but I just don't know if they're going to be able to line up and run the ball here against Oregon. The weather could impact. You know, the wind is down, the total's back up. The totals come back up to 43 after being
Yep.
bet down to 40 earlier in the week. I just don't know if this is, you know, it's a little bit easier to do it against Wisconsin and Minnesota than it is to line up against the Ducks. So oftentimes people get this sort of darling home dog in their vision of what it's going to be, and you find that the whole market just loves this team, and sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't. So I really don't know what to do with this one. I kind of believe that this price is a little cheap on Oregon. I'd love to see Iowa at 8.5, but
Mm.
I don't know. I wonder if Oregon is one where I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised if Oregon ends up winning this game, kicking a field goal to extend the margin to 10 late. I just worry about Iowa being able to throw the ball here. If they can't run the ball with as much effectiveness as they have in recent weeks, can Gronowski throw the ball? Oregon's coverage unit is elite. They've held so many opponents under 150 total passing yards. And how many points is Iowa going to be able to score here? I don't think Iowa's defense is as talented as in prior years where we've known Iowa's defense to just line up and completely shut everybody down. They're good, but not that good. So I don't know. I'm not on this one in any way.
All right. I just hope let's get a bad weather game, cold, rain, snow. Let
Yeah.
that wind pick up. Let's get a nice, fun game to watch there at Kinnick coming up here tomorrow. Let's move on to number 16, Vanderbilt hosting Auburn. And right now it is number 16, Vandy, a 6.5-point home favorite. Does Auburn get that dead cat bounce, the fired coach boost here in this game going to Nashville?
I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. You know, the season is dead. Auburn has looked very bad for this real tough stretch of games. You and I talked about this on another program too, about just how their season has been lost and they just don't have the offensive talent to really compete against a lot of the teams that were on their schedule. There's no direction on offense. The game plan has looked so poor and Auburn hasn't scored a lot of points. But now, when you get the interim in there, maybe they revamp it. Maybe they have a little fun offensively. Maybe they throw a few things at Vandy that we haven't seen. There's a chance there that the offense could look a little different. But on the other side, Auburn's defensive line has been really, really good this season. They're allowing just 2.5 yards per carry on the ground. They're 8th in overall defensive success rate, 10th in EPA per rush. Vandy, I don't think, is going to be able to line up and just run the football here against Auburn. So it's going to have to be the Pavia show. It's going to have to be him being a magician back there working his magic. I love Vandy just as much as everybody. I've been on the Pavia train for a lot of years with him at New Mexico State and Vanderbilt. This is a game that I think Auburn can truly win. I think Auburn will get a real spirited effort here out of their bunch. If we see a 7 flash, I'll be on Auburn. I like Vanderbilt. I hope they don't lose, but I think this is a game that Vanderbilt could lose.
All right, little upset alert there. Elsewhere, number 14, Virginia hosts Wake Forest. Virginia, a 6.5-point home favorite. If the season ended today, Virginia would be the presumptive ACC champion and make the college football playoff. Still a bit of ways to go, but they are undefeated in ACC play, so they are staring at the face of this ACC championship game. You got to win your games on the schedule first. Tough one coming up next week at Duke. Obviously, Vatech rivalry game at the end of the season. But can they cover a line here? 6.5 hosting Wake Forest.
Yeah, and a Vatech rivalry game that's been dominated by Vatech and a tricky spot to Duke. You know who I'll be rooting for in this game with the ticket that I have in pocket on Virginia, 200-1 to win the league.
Yes.
So let's go Wahoos. But despite Virginia looking pretty laissez-faire on offense the last couple of weeks, playing in some squeakers they had no business being tight games with, I've been impressed with the defense and how their defense has completely shown up ready to go each week. Now we look at Wake Forest offense, back-to-back stinker games, scoring 13 and 7 points, 4 combined yards per play. Excuse me. Robbie Ashford just has not looked like himself the last couple of weeks. It's been pretty disappointing, and I think that Virginia's defense is going to be able to make life tough on Wake. Wake Forest has horrific Wake Forest has horrific red zone execution offensively. They've been in the red zone 29 times this year, only 10 touchdowns. They've settled for a ton of empty possessions in the red zone, 9 red zone field goals. It just has not been good execution in the red zone. They don't convert third down very well. And they're also, Wake is heavily penalized, over 600 penalty yards against Wake Forest this season. So they don't do themselves any favors in the penalty department. A lot of those mistakes are stupid. They could be avoided. They're undisciplined. I think Wake Forest has been a fun story as far as how well that team has played relative to expectations. But Virginia should win this game. I think it's going to be super tight. I think it's going to be low scoring. I like Wake Forest team total under. You can go find a 21 out there. And I also like the full game under 48.
Okay, yeah. Well, let's see. Wake Forest team total currently up on FanDuel. It is 20.5. So you'd much rather find the 21, but it's currently at 20.5. Full game total now down to 47.5 up on FanDuel. Still close, still plays, but obviously shop around, as we say, make sure you get the best of the line when you can. One final game, let's get to, Josh. Number 4, Alabama hosting LSU. This is your Saturday night primetime game on ABC. Alabama 9.5-point favorites in a game that certainly had a lot more juice when the schedule came out. I don't know about how much now. We talk about the fired coach boost, that dead cat bounce all the time. Do we see it here? LSU, Brian Kelly tenure done. Everything, all the turmoil in not just with the football program, but with the entire athletic program, new AD, everything's kind of in flux there in Baton Rouge. Do they rally the troops here for a spot in Tuscaloosa against Alabama?
It's possible. When we get into the end of the season, there are some situations where teams line up against each other and you just throw out the record books. The Iron Bowl is a good example of that. Alabama, Auburn.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what the records are. Those games are always close. Florida State is a similar fashion. LSU, Arkansas is the same way. Well, this LSU-Alabama game kind of seems like one where you can kind of throw out the record books because this game, I think, could be tight into the fourth quarter. Brian Kelly's gone. There's some question about how well liked he was by anybody in the locker room or in the administration or in the community. The ADs have kind of done some damage control the last week or so on that. I don't know. I wonder if they're able to get that sort of fired coach boost and if the team really rallies for the interim, who I think it's, everything I've read, it's gone well in practice and it's gone well these last couple of weeks with the interim. I don't know. Alabama's off so many max effort spots in a row. I wonder how much they have left in the tank. Max effort spot against South Carolina. The Tennessee game was such a get-up spot. Tough game on the road against Missouri. The Vandy game was tough. Georgia. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And they're not done. They've got Oklahoma coming to town next week, so that gauntlet schedule continues. And Alabama, certainly a very talented team. They have exceptional quarterback play, but the defense does allow explosives, and they also struggle at times finishing off in the red zone. So if you're giving up 5 yards per carry on the ground, if you give up explosive plays, you can't finish drives. I don't know if I want to lay 10 here with Alabama. I think this is, like, if you have any game circled on the slate for LSU, this is the one that you want to go out and give your best effort in, I would think. So
yeah,
I think back and forth game, I don't know. I kind of lean LSU at the current number.
Okay. It's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be fun to watch the entire stretch run here of the college football season. As I mentioned earlier in the show, this is nut cutting time. Let's find out who these teams really are as they make their way towards the conference championship games, and of course, the college football playoff. Great stuff there, Josh. He is Joshua Nunn. I'm Scott Seidenberg. Make sure you guys head to the website, betterday.com. We have 2 new incredible features that are rolling out on Monday, so you don't want to miss that great exclusive data that we have for both for betting the NBA and the NHL. The new picks page with sourced picks, including a pick from Joshua Nunn, is up also on betterday.com. And we're just thrilled with all the partnerships we have coming your way. Fantasy football article for the NFL week number 10 comes up here later on Friday. So be sure to check that out. The Trench Report, as it comes out each and every Wednesday, is also up there available for you on the website. And the NBA Power Ratings as well is up on the website. So we have lots of great features rolling out at betterday.com, and we will continue to provide you the best analysis and information that we can to help you make today and every day a better day.